Hugo Bachega is following developments from Kyiv.
Well, the Ukrainians are saying that this changes anything, that everything that happened in Moscow yesterday was a farce, that the announcements have no legal value, no legitimacy, and they say they're going ahead with the offensive to retake towns and villages that are now under Russian occupation. And those four regions of Ukraine, Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhia and Kherson, are only partially occupied by the Russians, and fighting continues. And in the last hour, we had a military spokesperson saying that the Ukrainian forces have now encircled the strategically important city of Liman in the Donetsk region. This is a major hub for the Russians to resupply their troops in the east of the country. So now it seems that the Ukrainians have now managed to encircle this town, the town of Liman, with thousands of Russian troops now completely cut off. And if they manage to retake this city, it is going to be a major victory for the Ukrainians. And this is happening obviously just hours after that announcement by President Putin that Russia was going ahead with the annexation of these four regions of Ukraine, an announcement that has been rejected by the Ukrainians and also by most countries around the world.
That was Hugo Bachega reporting there from Kyiv. Well, let's speak now to Dr. Vlad Mykhnenko, who's an associate professor at the University of Oxford and joining me live from Birmingham. Thank you so much for joining us, Vlad. Now, first of all, I know that your family, you're from that area, Donetsk, and your family is from Mariupol. How does it feel seeing this announcement of annexation for areas including your hometown?
Well, I think it's important for us to sort of look at this in the perspective that, on the one hand, nothing has changed, as the correspondent has just pointed out, and then everything has changed. So personally, for me, of course, I'm waiting for the liberation of the Donbas area, and I'm waiting to hear the news about my personal relatives who are lost in the city of Mariupol, and we haven't been in touch with them for now 6 months, and I don't really know what's happening there. But it's important to understand that in a way that the annexation or this illegal act signed up yesterday by President Putin hasn't changed the dynamic on the front line. The dynamic on the front line is very much in favor of Ukrainian troops. However, I need to say that I think everything has changed as well, because I think this is yesterday's actions and also the blowing up of the Nord Stream 1 and 2 pipelines in the Baltic Sea a couple of days ago. I think those are the last sort of escalation attempts by Putin to burn the bridges behind him. So he is boxes him in the corner, and effectively there is hardly anything left apart from the horrible usage of the nuclear weapons for him to use as a further escalation tool.
Ukrainian forces are pushing back around Liman. What does that tell us about Russian strength and the strength of the Ukrainian fight back?
Well, the Ukrainian fight back has been quite strong on the Kharkiv and sort of north of Donbas front. It has been a very spectacular and rapid movements. As Liman collapses today, the open sort of the roads towards the northeast of the Donbas will be open for the Ukrainian troops to move further to cities like Svatove, which is one of the key lines of defense for the Russians. And effectively, it could be that the north of Luhansk Oblast will be liberated in the following couple of weeks, which obviously will torpedo any claims by Moscow about the annexation of these territories.
Now, Ukraine is reporting that the director of the nuclear power plant in Zaporizhia has been detained by the Russians. How worrying a development is this, and what could that lead to?
So effectively, Moscow has been using various types of blackmail, and I think nuclear blackmail is one of the key cards here. And of course, playing with the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant and its safety, and the worries that we all have for the safety of that largest nuclear power station in Europe is, of course, a big problem. I think to some extent the bluff hasn't really worked, and international community haven't been really scared by that particular attempts of shelling the station and blaming the Ukrainians for it and playing on those fears. However, I think it's just one of the small steps towards further escalation in this particular conflict.
Well, Vlad, thank you for taking the time to speak to us at what is, of course, an ongoing worrying time for you and your family in Mariupol. So thank you. That was Dr. Vlad